I did not film it yet. I watched The Room, but I did not film the review yet. I did not. Oh, hi, cinema. The Room is directed by Tommy Wiseau, and it stars Tommy Wiseau, and it's written by Tommy Wiseau, and it's also produced by Tommy Wiseau. The reason I separate that is because he separates it within the opening credits himself. Now in this review, I'm going to be talking spoilers because this movie did come out several years ago, and honestly, I don't think I need to do a spoiler-free review for this movie. And honestly, the only reason that I'm doing this review is because of The Disaster Artist coming out this week. The Room is about a character named Johnny, played by Tommy Wiseau, who is engaged to Lisa, his future wife, which he constantly reminds the audience time and time again. But Lisa's not in love with Johnny anymore, and she also reminds the audience that she's not in love with him anymore time and time again, because she's in love with Mark, Johnny's best friend, which Mark also reminds the audience that Johnny is his best friend time and time again. So the movie is really just about a love triangle. That's pretty much it, with a few minor subplots just tossed in there just because they didn't know how to make a movie. It's true. There's a subplot with a character named Denny who basically sees Johnny as a father figure because he's paying his tuition to college, and he is in love with Lisa, and he tells Mark, and it's a really awkward scene, and I'll get into that in a minute. But there's a random scene with his character when he is found out that he's been doing drugs. There's never any evidence of him ever doing drugs before that or after that. It's just a random scene thrown in there just because they wanted to introduce a gun into the story, which comes back into the story later. There's also a scene with Lisa's mother, who randomly shows up throughout this movie, and she basically tells her daughter Lisa that she has breast cancer. And seconds later, Lisa changes the topic because she's not in love with Johnny anymore. There's another subplot with a character named Mike and his girlfriend that are making out, and they get caught making out by Lisa and her mother. And that's really all that happens with that character. So this movie really has no reason to exist other than Tommy Wiseau wanted to make a movie, and the only message that it sends is, hey, don't cheat on your future wife or future husband or fiance or husband or wife or girlfriend. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen. Because at the end of the movie, Tommy Wiseau's character, Johnny, commits suicide with the gun that he pulled away from the drug dealer instead of taking that to the cops. I didn't pay that close of attention to the gun when it was in the drug dealer's hand and when Johnny shoots himself. But basically, he shoots himself because he's upset that Lisa is leaving him for his best friend. Yeah. So unlike our views lately, I'm not going to split this up into good and bad. I'm just going to talk about parts of the movie because there's really not many good scenes in this movie, and the only good parts about it is that it is so bad that it's almost enjoyable. And that is why I'm just going to talk about particular things in this movie. The beginning is very awkward, okay? First off, the first 30 minutes is just a lot of sex scenes, and it's really uncomfortable because Tommy Wiseau is by himself disgusting. The shot, it's gross. And I think in the first scene, Denny, the character that basically Johnny sees as his kid because he's been taking care of him, he kind of barges in and he wants to get in on everything going on. It's like, hey, let's not do this. It gets really awkward really fast. And then they just send him downstairs and they're like, all right, let's get to it. It's really awkward, and Denny's just a wasted character that did not need to be in the movie. This movie didn't even need to exist, but the character Denny just has no reason to be in this movie whatsoever. So there are characters that come in to talk to a character, and then seconds later, they're leaving. And in particular, there's a scene where, the mother comes in to talk to Lisa. They have a short little conversation. I think that's when Lisa first brings up, I don't love him anymore. And then the mom's just like, you know what? You should just marry him anyway because Johnny's excited to be married to you. It's like, okay. And the fact that she leaves literally a minute, maybe two, after she gets back to their house, I have to go. And that is a recurring theme in this movie. Not only do they say, oh hey, oh hi, all the time. Every time someone comes into the shot, that you hear, oh hi Mark, oh hey Denny, oh hi Mike. all this stuff. Oh, hi, Lisa. It just drives me nuts. There's also the fact that every character is only in a scene for a very short amount of time, and they have to go. The mom shows up 2 minutes later. I have to go. Denny shows up because he wants to come talk to Lisa or something, and Johnny's there. He's like, I better get going. There's even a scene where Mark and Johnny are having lunch. We see two couples of customers get helped, which is drawn out way too long. We have to see everything that they're ordering. First off, they don't pay for their stuff right there at the cash register, and then they go have a seat, and they're like, oh, go have a seat, we'll bring it out to you. It's like, do they get a bill? It looks like one of those shops that you pay right then and there. Anyway, they have like lunch coffee or whatever together, but a minute, maybe two later at most, Johnny's like, I have to get going. Like, you just got there. What do you... It's so annoying. And that scene is already awkward enough because Johnny asks Mark, so how's your sex life? Like, what? It's so uncomfortable. Every line in this movie is so uncomfortable. And not only that is it uncomfortable, but most of it is ADR'd. It's recorded after the fact. Most of Johnny's lines, Tommy Wiseau's lines, are dubbed over. And you can tell every time because his mouth is very moving. But he's speaking not very clearly, but clearly for Tommy Wiseau. It's just, everything that has to do with the audio is so annoying. The music is so bad. The audio is terrible. And the shots, okay, first off, my brother has read, or at least he listened to the audiobook of The Disaster Artist, which is the movie that is based on the making of this movie, The Room. He shot it. Tommy Wiseau had no idea how digital worked. This was at the time when film was switching over to digital, and he didn't know how digital was going to work. So he built a rig on tripods and stuff that had a film camera and a digital camera. Not only that, he bought the equipment. Normally you just rent it for the film. He bought the cameras, which is insanely expensive. He financed the film himself with his mysterious money. And he bought the cameras, shot them side by side, and because he didn't know how digital was going to work. The film is shot terribly. There's scenes where people are like, their necks are being cut off, and they have so much headroom. It makes no sense. The framing is off. And there's shots of the Golden Gate Bridge just to remind you, hey, we're in San Francisco. Early on in the movie, we do find out that Lisa is cheating on Johnny with Mark. And, Mark feels bad about it, but he's like, you know what, he's my best friend, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's so stupid. It's really annoying. All the acting is terrible. And it's not just the acting that's terrible, it's the writing, because I feel like Tommy Wiseau wrote this overnight, and he's just like, oh, he's my best friend, copy and paste. He just had a few lines that he was always putting in there. Oh, hi, oh, hi, oh, hi. I have to go. I don't want to talk about it. That's another thing. Lisa never wants to talk about it, but she brings it up all the time. So there's this scene where Johnny comes home, and he's all sad and depressed because he didn't get his promotion at work that he thought he was going to get. And so basically Lisa says, hey, what's going on? He's like, I didn't get the promotion. And literally 5 seconds later, Lisa says, so you didn't get the promotion, huh? It's like, did they forget that they filmed that scene? Did they film this completely out of order? And they're like, hey, we got to film that scene, some more of that scene that we shot 2 days ago. I don't remember where we left off, so let's just take some of the dialogue before that and recap what happens in the previous shot. It's really bad. But Lisa gets Johnny drunk, and it's a whole big deal because Johnny's like, I don't drink. Yet he sounds drunk all the time, just as a normal person, Tommy Wiseau. He feels like an alien in human skin that is trying so hard to be human, but can't quite get it right. Every word. How Christopher Walken has a kind of weird speech pattern? Tommy Wiseau is like that, except more so. And it's really uncomfortable. There's also a show called The Tommy Wiseau, and it's him playing video games. It's awesome. Check it out. So basically, Lisa uses the fact that Johnny got drunk to claim that Johnny hit her. Even though there are no bruises or any evidence of her hitting or him hitting her. And she just carries that on. And it's like, okay, why does this have to be a thing? Why is this like, why does she keep bringing this up? He hit me. And it's like, what? No, Johnny wouldn't do that. It's like, okay. So Johnny and Lisa's house is basically like the love shack. This is where everybody goes to make love. And it's really awkward. Mike and this other character, they're trying to make out, and then Lisa and her mom come in and they rush out. It's like, what the heck is going on? And honestly, the mom is like the voice of the audience. She's like, who the heck are these characters? And then like, why is everyone coming here to do it on the couch and stuff? It is really awkward, but the mom notices it, and she's like the voice of reason, yet she's still a super annoying character. So then we get to the rooftop scene. This is like the iconic scene that you see in the trailer for The Disaster Artist, when he comes out and he can't quite remember his lines. Now, if I remember correctly, in The Disaster Artist, my brother said that they could not get him to say the right lines, and he randomly grabbed a water bottle, throws it down, and that take was perfect. The way that he wanted it to be delivered, and he actually said the lines. He didn't say them as a normal human being would say them, but he still said the lines. Now, the shots in this scene are terrible, and they surrounded the set with a green screen, and you can tell. Mark is randomly up there, and then they just have this really awkward conversation where Mark is like hinting, like, hey, you know, Lisa's probably cheating on you, and she's actually cheating on you with me, and all this weird stuff. And then he's like, well, it looks like you're the expert, Mark, about women. And I do have to say, from the trailers, I don't know how it's going to be in the movie for The Disaster Artist, but it looks like James Franco is saying the line terribly wrong. Okay, from what I can tell and what I've seen, they've tried to recreate parts of the movie, shot for shot, line for line, the exact way it was done in the original movie, The Room. And it drives me nuts every time I see the trailer, because James Franco, at the end of I did not hit her, he says, I did not. It's really annoying, because in the movie he just says, I did not.
I did not.
I don't know why, it's a nitpick, but it bothers me, and I'm probably going to talk about it when I go see The Disaster Artist, hopefully this weekend. We will see. Anyway, the scene is drawn out way too long. Denny shows up just as Mark is leaving, because he's like, I gotta go. Denny shows up, he's like, hey, Johnny, I love Lisa. And Johnny is basically like, you know what? Lisa loves you too, as a person, as a human being. Like, let me take your heart out and crush it because she loves me. But really, she doesn't love Johnny, because she tells us that probably in the scene before that and the scene immediately after that too. So shortly after that, Johnny and Lisa have an argument where you get that iconic line where Johnny says, you're tearing me apart, Lisa! The fight is over within seconds, and he's like, don't worry about it, I still love you. Like, don't worry about it is also another one of the phrases that they use over and over and over again. Don't worry about it, don't worry about it. There's even a reference of that in the rooftop scene with Mark and Denny, where he's like, hey, what are we gonna see? We'll see, don't worry about it, Denny, don't plan ahead. You might not come out right, and all this other stuff. It's just, it's so bad. I still can't believe I'm talking about this movie. So shortly after that, there is a scene where Lisa and her mom are talking in the house about, you know, Lisa doesn't love Johnny, and she's cheating on him. She's slept with someone else. And this entire time, Johnny is hiding behind the staircase. How they don't see him blows my mind. I have no idea. It's obviously because of the writing. It's like, oh, I'm gonna put myself, this is Tommy Wiseau, I'm gonna put myself behind the staircase so it looks like I was spying on them and they just didn't see me because I'm such a good hider. So he goes and sets up a recorder because he's like, how could they say this about me? I'll record everything. I'll show them. And he sets up a tape recorder. Now, it's been a while since I've even touched a cassette tape, but those things only record for a couple hours. And I don't remember how long the tape actually records, but it's like a couple days at least. And he gets like damning evidence against Lisa because he plugs the recorder into the phone. Now, first off, how does he have all those wires to do that? I don't know. I don't even have those wires, and I'm I have a lot of wires here. I record video off of VHS tapes sometimes. I got to do a lot of that stuff, and I don't have that kind of capabilities to take an audio cassette tape and plug it into a phone. First off, I don't have a home phone at all, but I don't get it. Now, there is one scene that I forgot to mention, and that's the flower shop scene. This is arguably one of the worst scenes in the movie outside of the sex scenes, because those are like eye-gougingly awful. This scene is the just epitome of horrible ADR. Like, everything in this scene has been dubbed over. Everything. He comes in, he's like, "Hi, I'd like a dozen red roses." She's like, "Oh, hi, Johnny, didn't know it was you." Like, all the dialogue is awful. It plays out really quick, which is perfectly fine. I would rather it not exist at all, because we have to see how he bought the flowers, how much they were, and how much he's appreciated at this company, and that he likes the doggy on the counter. It's awful. And I'm looking forward to seeing the making of the movie, of that scene in The Disaster Artist. There's another scene where the guys are all playing football in an alleyway. First off, I don't know why Johnny was just walking in an alleyway, and then Mike's like, "Oh, hey, Johnny," and he's like, "Oh, hi, Mike." Like, why was he there in the first place? Is this a gym? Is this a theater? Where is this? There's no context, and it doesn't matter because it's pointless anyway. They start playing football in an alley. And sadly, this scene has the best acting in the entire movie because it wasn't fully scripted. They start just talking about stuff, and they're laughing like people would laugh, because I can see the actors being like, "What are we doing? What are we making?" And they're tossing the football literally 3-4 feet away from each other. They're not even throwing it like a football because they're so close. They have to toss it. It's really awkward. And then Mark comes in randomly, and he's standing next to Mike, and he's like, "Hey, what are you talking about? The underwear stuff? Or what's going on?" He lightly pushes him, and Mike falls over into trash cans. He's like, "Oh man, do you need a doctor?" And like all this stuff, like, oh, it's so bad. Okay, so then the guys all go to try on their tuxes, and for some reason they take them home at that point. I don't know how far away the wedding is, but they're wearing their tuxes, and they're like, "Hey, you guys want to go throw the football?" And the lawyer, I think, the lawyer friend or whatever he is, I didn't pay that close of attention because it was just mind-numbing, this movie. They're all playing football outside in their tuxes, and they're like, "Hey, go long." And the guy goes long, he's running, and he trips. It's the most awkward trip ever. He falls down, and Denny's like, "Oh man, you're klutz. Like, you're clumsy." All this stuff, it's just so awkward. And he's like, "Yeah, okay, we're done playing football. Like, you threw it once, and you're done." You, like... Then Johnny and Mark go to a park. They were planning this in like a previous scene. Like, "Hey, so we'll meet at the park at 2:00 tomorrow." "Okay, sounds good. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey man, bye." And they show up at the park, and they literally ask each other, "Hey, what's new with you?" Like 4 times. You can't really hear it. You have to really listen closely. I unfortunately rewound it a couple times. Like, how many times do they say it? They say it 2 or 3 times to each other a piece. And normally when you go to a park and play football or something, you normally have more than one person with you. But it's just 2 of them. And to get to the field, they're jogging and they're throwing the football. Like, "Hey, what's new with you?" "Oh, not much. What's new with you?" While they're throwing it. So that scene is just, it's weird. It's awkward. Everything about this movie is awkward and weird. So then we get to the party scene. Now, I don't remember this clearly because I was, at this point, half paying attention because this movie's so bad. But I do not remember Lisa ever saying to Johnny that she's pregnant. But the whole party is just frustratingly bad. And randomly, Johnny comes up and he's like, "Hey everyone, we're expecting." It's like, that came out of nowhere. Why is that even a thing now? And Lisa comes up and she's like, "I just wanted to make it more interesting." Like, wow, you're a terrible human being. And like, that is the only part that I can see being good about the movie is it's like, hey, we're going to introduce a more evil side of this character. And it's like, here you go. So they're like, all right, let's all go outside for some fresh air. It's like everyone goes outside. It's not a few people. It's everyone. And then Lisa and Mark stay behind. And Lisa's like, let's shut the door. And she sits on his lap. I'm like, oh my gosh. There are people outside that could be looking in the window. Like, how stupid are you? And like, how stupid do you think the audience is? And how stupid do you think the other people at the party are? Like, hey, where's Lisa and Mark? And they're all just standing like outside the building, just, oh, it's a nice night. What are they doing out there? So basically Lisa and Johnny have a falling out. They break up and Mark and Johnny have a falling out. Yet, Lisa stays home with Johnny. And I don't know why. It's like, didn't you guys just break up? And he's like, get out of my life. And like, they're still together or something. So basically, Lisa then finally leaves him after she calls Mark and she's like, hey, where are you? And he's like, come over, I want your body, and all this really awkward stuff. And this is on the same phone that Johnny attached the recorder to. And so he finally finds out that it is Mark, even though he pretty much knew already from the party. And so he gets all frustrated and he starts tearing the house apart, and it's the most lazy anger scene ever. Just shoving things off a fireplace mantle. And during that scene, there's this part where he runs his hand across and he's breaking glass. I'm like, did they use the fake glass or is that real glass? Obviously, they didn't use a stunt performer. I don't know why they would, but it's a really bad scene. And he picks up a TV. Now, nowadays, TVs are bigger and they weigh less. But that TV that he picks up is easily like 50, 60 pounds, maybe. And he picks it up like it's 10, or at most 10, and just like throws it out. He sounds like the Hulk mixed with Arnold Schwarzenegger, mixed with Christopher Walken, but it's Tommy Wiseau, you know? It's just weird sounding. I think they saw a bunch of those shots where the TV falls and it breaks. They're like, we gotta put one of those in our movie. So they found a way to do it. So that whole scene before Johnny commits suicide is really awkward. He's got Lisa's red dress and it's weird. I won't talk about it. But he ends up committing suicide, and Lisa and Mark come running in. And I have to admit, the girl who plays Lisa, she's not a terrible crier. But during that scene, you know, Greg Sestero, who plays Mark, he's not crying, I don't think. He's a terrible actor as well. But Mark just starts blaming Lisa, like, you killed him, get out of here, leave us alone. Like, you're as much to blame as Lisa. Sure, Lisa was the one that was in a relationship with him, but he was your best friend. You reminded us every single scene that you were in that Johnny is your best friend. But you had no problem cheating with his fiance. So Denny comes in and sees that Johnny has committed suicide, and he's like, leave us alone, I just want to be with him. And then Johnny, or Mark and Lisa just walk to the stairs and they're like, you know, we should go back there and be with him. And they're all just crying over Johnny's dead body. And you hear all this ADR, or not ADR, you just hear this voiceover in the background, like people around the building or something, around the neighborhood. They're like, oh man, did you hear that gunshot? We should call 911. And you hear the sirens coming, and it's really long. It's like, okay, we get it. Just please end this suffering, end this movie, because I'm done with it. So if you have not seen this movie, it really is that bad. It's almost unbearable. You know, there's a fine line of bad movies where it's just bad, it's uncomfortable, and then it's so bad that it's fun and enjoyable. It's teetering on the edge of being fun and enjoyable to being completely unbearable. It is mind-numbing. It's bad, but you can laugh at it because it's so bad. And that's why they made, Greg Sestero wrote the book, The Disaster Artist, and that's why it's being made into a movie, because it's so bad that it's almost it's kind of enjoyable in the sense that you could just laugh at how bad it is. So you know, it's hard to grade this movie because of how bad it is, but how enjoyable it is. But on my scale, I would give it an F. If I could go lower, I would, but this movie totally deserves an F. I would never give it anything higher just because I enjoy the badness of it. It's just bad. It's shot poorly. The acting's terrible. The editing's terrible. Everything about this movie is terrible. And that's something that makes it enjoyable, because you can laugh and just study this movie and be like, okay, I will never shoot a movie like that. I'll never have anybody say those lines. I'll never shoot something like this where the character's head is down here on the frame and everything else is up here. So that is my review of The Room. If you guys want to watch it, if you want to sit through it and suffer through it like I did, you can find it easily on YouTube. Just type in The Room. Just find a video that says it's over an hour and a half long. That'll be it. Just don't expect too much out of it. And don't expect too little out of it either. Just watch it for what it is if you really want to sit through it. I would never recommend it to somebody because of how awful it is and just it's uncomfortable. But let me know what you guys thought of it if you have seen it in the comments below. Did you like it, love it, or hate it? Yeah, let me know. I want to know. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified when we upload new content. And definitely check out our Patreon page where you can support us and get early access to videos and possibly be in a video with yours truly. I'm hoping to go see The Disaster Artist this weekend. I don't think Karen wants to see it. She didn't watch this movie, The Room, so I don't think she's interested in seeing The Disaster Artist at all. I really want to see it. I've heard it's actually really good. I want to see it. I'm pretty sure my brother wants to see it, so maybe I'll go see it with him. Maybe we'll do a collaboration review, me and my brother again. We did one for it, so we will see how it goes. You can follow me on Twitter and get updates on videos and other projects, and see if I'm actually going to go see The Disaster Artist and when I'm seeing it and what my initial thoughts were in a tweet. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.